you're going like this every month. You're like him.
I get first, last, and a security deposit.
First, last, and?
You're ahead of the game.
Yeah, you're only allowed by law up to a month and a half.
Unless they agree to it.
Unless they agree to it.
And
Half time.
I say, if you don't agree to this, you don't get in.
That's the way it used to be, years and years ago. You first, last, and damage deposit, or you
Yeah.
didn't get the place.
Right.
All depends.
They have to
Not
agree to
anymore.
it. Well,
Yeah, I know, if they'd have to agree.
Real estate is negotiations.
Sure.
So you could probably do that for housing, but it's kind of hard to do that with multifamily because a lot of people don't have the resources to give you 3 months up front. Because if they give you 3 months up front, then they got to give APS a $200 or $300 security deposit, and then they're pretty much paying anywhere from $500 to $1,000 to move. So you're asking somebody to kind of give somebody like $4,000 out of their pocket. Not going to happen in multifamily. Single family homes, yeah, I can see that.
The condo plan.
Condos, or depending where the condos are, if they're in Scottsdale and Gilbert, you can do that. It all depends on where your property is and what your tenant is.
Right.
I mean, when you buy a property, you already know what the tenant's going to be like. Can we agree on that?
Yeah.
So you kind of know what to expect with a tenant. So if you purchase in Scottsdale, I mean, I do the same thing. I was like, well, okay, this house is in Levine. I tell my agent, first and last months, no negotiations. Sometimes in the multifamily, you sort of have to split up the security deposit in two. You got to give a half this month and a half next month in order to fill the property, or the property sits for 60 days. Just little thing, I mean, I get your permission before I do that, but it's just little things like that that fill your property up faster. But anyway, going back to this, any questions on the calendar of events? Really got to follow that. I mean, you really got to follow up. I know sometimes I used to have the same problem with the constables when I first started. It used to take 10 days. I was like, come on, guys, that's too long. There's other ways, other than the 5-day eviction, there's other ways you can get a tenant out. Media eviction due to crime. All our tenants sign a crime-free addendum. That gives you the power to, it says immediate. It's not immediate, but you can, if you get a police report or something, that you know there's been a crime on the property, you get the police report number, you can send the eviction in that day, and it still follows the process. You'll get a court date the next week, and then they got to move out within 10 days, or 5 days. Non-compliance, violated the lease provision, like that lady, the city of Phoenix, the hoarder. Well, she's violated her lease. She's supposed to keep the property clean at all times and within city regulations. Well, she didn't. So I took her to court. So she'll be gone.
How long was she there?
She's been she's been at the property for 3 years, and it's just been the last 6 months. She's last 6 or 8 months she's been hoarding. I don't know why.
She goes to the garage sale.
I don't know. And then you can, if you give a person a 30-day notice that you don't want them in there, you want to end their lease, and they're still there, you can take them to court there too. Because I have a lady right now, she bought a house near Tapatio. She's moving from Massachusetts, and she wants her house. She sold her house in Massachusetts. Now I got to make sure the tenant gets out by the 31st. If I don't, then I got to take her to court right away. Because the tenant, she's lived in Massachusetts now for 30 years. She sold a 3,000 square foot house. So she's coming with movers. So there are other ways. I mean, there's other notices you can give them. You can give them a 10-day notice. You can give them a health and safety notice. Like the lady with the hoarder, I gave her a 5-day health and safety notice. And I listed all the provisions that the owner wanted fixed. Well, she didn't fix them. Took her to court. I took pictures. She's the one that came in with the brace and in the wheelchair.
Oh, yeah. And a note from her doctor.
Yeah, note from her doctor. She had everything, and she's been in the hospital. And I took a lot of pictures, and the judge is like, "Is this the way the property is?" Yes, Your Honor. He's like, well, boom. Okay. This is another favorite. I could probably spend another whole class on collections. After you get the judgment and all that, we send the tenants to collections.
Do they get any money for you?
Once in a while they do.
Yeah.
It all depends. On the lower class, C-class properties, you know, if you get better property, you have a better chance. I had a surprise call, last month? I was with another company, and they actually called me and they're like, hey, Deandra, we got her. She wants to settle her collections. It's like $1,300, 18 months later. But they track them. But this is what you need to do to send a person to collections. I use U.S. collections. When they move out, I give them a security disposition letter, breakdown of charges. You can charge back the repairs and everything you do to the current lease, the judgment itself, the inspection reports, any buyout concessions, if you give them a free month or a week free or something like that. Any roommates, but sometimes in Tempe, I'll get the roommates. Sometimes they come and go. Yeah, I had that happen 2 years ago. Copy of IDs, we do collect their drivers. I give them as much information as possible to the collection agency to make it as easy as possible to start tracking them. And then they put on their credit report and everything else. And sometimes, you know, when a person, like the lady that was last month, she was on Section 8. And then somehow, you know, 18 months later, I guess the guy was telling me that she actually has a good job now. And she wants to clean up her act and she wants to buy a home. So in order yeah, I know. So in order to do that, she's got to pay off the judgment. It's like $1,300. That's me. That's my show for today. That pretty much covers the Arizona eviction process. Any questions on the eviction process?